Hi, Happy New Year. I have a lot of bookish friends who make book resolutions for the new year. They might pick a number, say 5 or 50 books that they would like to read for the new year. So they set that as a goal. Or they go on one of the book sharing websites like Bookreads and do a reading challenge. Or they say, I'm usually a novel reader, usually read fiction. So this year, among the novels, I'm going to read 10 nonfiction books. And then there are other people who, like myself, just read whatever interesting or intriguing book crosses their path. Hi, my name is Pam Lamp, and I write a blog called Who I Met Today, where I interview and profile interesting people from all walks of life. Love to have you follow along. I also love to cook and bake and eat and talk about books. So today I have 5 books that I've read and enjoyed, and I hope that you might find 1 or 2 or 3 of these that you'd like to put on your reading list. The first one is called The Last Romantics. It's by Tara Conklin, and I was able to get this one from the library. It was published in 2019, so it might be readily available at your library. But in 2079, Fiona Skinner, the youngest of 4 children, is 102 and looking back on her life. So the tale is of 4 siblings growing up. Their father had died when they were very young, and their mom retreated to her bedroom, and the kids were kind of left to fend for themselves and handle things on their own for much of their life. Fiona has a lot of regrets, like all of us do. Who doesn't have regrets? And just thinks back over her life and what she might have done differently. So I loved that book and would highly recommend it. The next one is called, this is on my iPad, This Is How It Always Is by Lori Frankel. Oh, wow, this book, wow. I think it's a great read for a new year because it reminded me, and I hate that I have to be reminded all the time, but it reminded me to be kind, not judge. You just never know what's going on in someone else's life. And we all have things going on in our lives that other people know nothing about. Rosie and Penn in this story have 5 boys, and their youngest son is worried about what he wants to be when he grows up. It's fiction, but it's also based on the author's real life events and things that she and her husband are struggling with. So it's one of my favorite books I've read in a long time. And when I interviewed Susie Orman Schnall a couple of years ago, she's another great author that I've recommended books on this site. But anyway, she told me about this book, and I regret that it took me so long to get to it. So I highly recommend that. The next book is called Shoulder Season, and it's by the delightful author Christina Clancy, who I had a chance to meet not too long ago at an author event. Playboy Bunnies and the Playboy Resort in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Now, I know what you're thinking. I was thinking that too, but just stay with me for a second. Small Town Sherry is a very unlikely candidate to be a Playboy Bunny, but that's exactly what she becomes. And she's so excited to leave her small town. Her parents have died. She just wants to get away and to throw herself into the glamorous world of, yes, the family-friendly Playboy Bunny Resort. Now, Christina, the author, grew up in Wisconsin amid all the hoopla of the Playboy Bunny Resort. And she interviewed a lot of former bunnies. And so it's really an interesting read. It talks about the kind of women that were bunnies and all the rules that they had to follow. I urge you to give it a try. It's a coming of age story. I wasn't thrilled with the main character. And I mentioned that to Christina when we talked, and she said you weren't supposed to be. So know that going in. I wanted to just shake Sherry sometimes, and that was Christina's goal. So Shoulder Season. The next book, the 4th one, is called Once Upon a Wardrobe by Patty Callahan Henry. And Patty is one of my very favorite authors. She wrote Becoming Mrs. Lewis and Surviving Savannah that I reviewed not too long ago, in which, if you haven't read that one, I would highly recommend it. But this book, Once Upon a Wardrobe, was on all kinds of lists for the best book of 2021, including from some of my bookish friends who I always think have good opinions. I wouldn't go that far. And it was a thought-provoking read, an enjoyable read. It wasn't one of my favorites, and I think it's because it's my fault. C.S. Lewis wrote The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and I never read it, wasn't familiar with it, about London children. When the war was raging, they came to an estate to escape the war, were taken care of, and escaped into the magical, imaginative world of Narnia. And where the books intersect is in Once Upon a Wardrobe. Meg's ailing little brother wants to know how Narnia came to be. And it just so happens that Meg knows Professor Clive Staples Lewis, C.S. Lewis, who's teaching at the local university. So she sets out to find out for her little brother how Narnia came about. And it's beautifully written and a lovely story. And I urge you to check that out. The Couple Next Door is by Canadian author Sherry LaPena. I hope I'm saying that right. Who leaves their infant alone? Who does that? You can guess what happened. The couple takes their baby, puts their kid to bed, takes their baby monitor, and goes next door for dinner. Well, that's not so awful, but they stay and stay and stay. And I think most of us have lived long enough that we now know that great guys and upstanding women sometimes step out of our boundaries, and we do things that we ourselves can't even believe that we did. And this is what happens in that story. Leslie and my online book club associated with the 60andMe community got me hooked on this author, Sherry LaPena, and she also wrote Not a Happy Family. If you haven't read that one, that's a good one too. So I hope that you find a book or two or three on this list that you'd like to read and kick off the new year. I would love to hear your comments or suggestions or opinions, either on the 60andMe Facebook page or at the bottom of this post. I would love if you'd follow along on my blog. Information's at the bottom. I send out a newsletter with new people, places, and things every 2 weeks. It's short. In the meantime, I hope you have a happy, healthy new year. I wish all of you a 2022 filled with joy and blessings and fun adventures and lots of books. Thank you so much.